All right, it looks like we're live here. If you could enter in the chat box whether or not you can hear me, that would be great. Looks like you guys can already hear me. That sounds fantastic. All right. Can you see me too? All right. Okay, looks like I've confirmed my own audio here, so things could be good. Thank you all for joining me here for today's webinar. I am super excited to deliver this training once again. We did it twice last week, and it's great to do an encore presentation. There was so much enthusiasm about this. There was just as many people registered today as there were last week, so that's super fun. All right, let's get going here. What we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you here live for just a second here, and then at the very end, once we go to Q&A, we'll do me, my pretty face again. But in the middle here, I'm going to switch my screen to a presentation where you can see the presentation and then hear me over that. And at any time during the presentation, please feel free to hit the Submit a Question button, and that will pop open in a new window for you. And you can submit questions for me to answer at the end. All right, let's get it switched up here. And all right, screen share. Okay. Perfect. All right. So welcome to Practical Planning for Scrapbookers. My name is Jennifer Wilson, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself in just a moment. But I am so honored to be here training you today. A few brief housekeeping points here. If at any time you want to submit a question, that red Submit a Question button is where you do that. I will not be able to follow everything in the chat room as closely as I would like. So if you have a question for me, and questions are very heartily encouraged, please hit that button and a form will pop up so that you can enter your question. And I am monitoring over the years those over here on the side, a little spreadsheet. Those will pop up for me. And I will answer a few if they come in during the presentation, but we will have a dedicated Q&A period at the end where I am willing to answer anything and everything for you. Below our video and handout and question area, there is a chat box. One thing that viewers in our previous presentations recommended is if you're having trouble seeing both the video and the chat box at the same time, you can open up two different browser windows using the same URL and put those side by side on your screen. So depending on the height of your screen, you may want to do that. All right here. All right, so my name is Jennifer Wilson, and if you are new to this community, I am owner of Simple Scrapper, where I provide tools and support for purposeful memory keeping. And my perspective on simple is a little bit different than what you might think. It's not just about a simple or minimalist style in your page designs, but it's really about the process and approaches that you use to make scrapbooking fit into your life, to make it a doable, enjoyable, fun, and fulfilling hobby. And so I have developed this body of knowledge, and I'm always continuing to develop it to help advise you on how you can be a happy and joyful scrapbooker. I come at this from a little bit of a unique perspective as well. I've only been in the industry since 2008. And I wasn't really a scrapbooker before that. I came into it with the idea that I'm trying to figure out and to demystify what does modern scrapbooking look like and how can we fit it into our busy lives. Prior to that, I worked in the drinking water industry as a scientist and a little bit of a communicator as well. So I'm bringing all of my analytical, methodical science background basically to scrapbooking and helping you break things down and be a little bit more left-brained about this creative hobby. So in today's presentation, I want to start off with some of the common roadblocks that I see among scrapbookers and kind of what's brought us here to this presentation today. Why are you interested in practical planning? And one of the reasons I think that is because you recognize that there's far too many distractions out there and you have trouble staying focused and organized, as one of our members, Libby, said. This is very, very common, and so I don't want you to feel like that you're alone in this challenge, that staying focused and on task with your hobby or throughout your life is something that you share with a lot of others. Also, there's this ebb and flow of enthusiasm that I see, and that's totally natural. You want to maintain your motivation for any kind of creative activities all year long, but there is a cycle. Depending on what's going on in your life, your interest in your time and your excitement about scrapbooking may change. And so we'll talk a little bit about how you can adjust your expectations for yourself to better account for that change throughout the year. All right, so some of the common roadblocks I see here today are, sorry, I just got a little messed up there. One thing I want to say is that if you happen to click on the other videos that popped up before the presentation started, you may be watching a recording of a previous presentation. I know I see Julie here asked, what is my favorite color? And one of the previous presentations, I asked for some silly questions. So if you clicked in it, it loaded a previous recording. You may be watching that instead of the live presentation. And if that happened to you, all you need to do is refresh the screen and you'll be able to jump right on to our live presentation today. So anyway, back to the training. The third common roadblock is lack of action. You think about scrapbooking, you love scrapbooking, you purchase supplies for it, you're actually kind of internally excited about it, but that doesn't necessarily translate into actual action, actual pages completed and projects finished. Gina here says that she has trouble finishing all of her unfinished projects, and Diane in particular doesn't have trouble creating plans, but she has trouble executing them. And so what we're going to do today is talk about a method that will allow you to not only understand at a big picture what's important to you in scrapbooking, but have that then kind of cascade down into your daily life and actually take action and execute on the things that you'd like to accomplish. So the takeaways that I'd like you to have from today's presentation include a sense of ease that going into the new year, that this hobby is supposed to be about me time and creative fulfillment. And while yes, there is an important legacy component that you are documenting your family's story, it shouldn't be stressful, burdensome, or frustrating. I also want you to have a sense that you can better manage your time in the new year, that when you know what it is you should be doing during time that you set aside, you'll be able to feel like you use that time well. And then together, both of those will help you reach and achieve more of the goals that you have for yourself, and including finishing those projects that are long overdue or finishing the projects that you start anew in 2016. And all of this together, I hope, leads you to a deeper sense of creative joy for your scrapbooking hobby, and a greater sense of that you have cultivated a purposeful life that includes time for self-renewal, that's also translates to kind of a deep, meaningful gift to your family and to yourself in the form of finished pages and all of these memories documented. All right, so this presentation today, and this comes out of some questions I received before the training, this really is for everyone. It's for digital and paper scrapbookers alike, and it's for those who plan with an app or plan on paper. What we're going to do here is we're going to take an approach. It's kind of a methodology that I have for planning, and show that how you can apply that to your hobby and really to your entire life, no matter what your styles and preferences are, whether you're a more digital or computer inclined person or you're very devoted to all things paper. So this is where we really get into the meat of things. And this is a diagram that I'm going to show you here that you'll see throughout the presentation. And this is the practical planning cascade. And what this is a way of thinking about your scrapbooking so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming. So you're not sitting down on a given evening after the kids are in bed and feeling frustrated that you're not sure what to do. You have so many ideas, so many things you could do. You're not sure where to begin. This will help give you some very clear focus about where to start anytime you scrapbook. And what we start with is the what you do idea. This is kind of the entire landscape of what your scrapbooking looks like. What types of projects, what types of formats, what types of supplies do you use? And once you have that in mind, you know kind of what this big picture is. You know what you're going for. You know what your library of albums should look like, what you're trying to build. Then you can start figuring out when to do those things. Too often I see folks trying to schedule aside time for scrapbooking, and they do that. And then they actually even show up for their personal date with their hobby, but then they're not sure what to do and how it all fits into this bigger picture. So by establishing that kind of landscape first, you'll be able to actually book aside that time. And then finally, it's the doing. It's that execution, the taking action. So when you do these things in this order, it all fits together and it doesn't feel so jumbled. And the way we organize this is throughout the year. I recommend taking kind of an annual assessment of what it is you're doing in scrapbooking, whether or not that's working for you, and either continuing on because where it is working or making changes to improve where it's not. And so this is when you just take this big picture landscape view of all of your hobby. You look at the albums you've completed. You really just take a gut check and figure out, all right, am I on the right track or not? And then on a seasonal basis, you can think about when you're actually going to accomplish projects, when you're actually going to work on that album for your husband that you've been meaning to start, when you're going to focus on managing your photo library. Because when we take an annual approach to planning, it doesn't always work out because our enthusiasm is greatest at the beginning of the year. So by the time the end of summer rolls around, we barely even remember what it is we'd planned to do at the beginning of the year. So by looking at your plans every quarter, every 3 months, you're able to gauge your personal energy, your enthusiasm, what's interesting to you, what's going on in your family's life, and what's going on in your life, and better be able to determine what should be on your plate right now and what shouldn't be. And then it's that weekly and daily planning when you're actually looking at a calendar or looking at a weekly schedule or a daily agenda and determining where does scrapbooking fit in my life right this moment. And so when you have those kind of projects, the larger conceptual in mind, you'll actually know the individual tasks that should go on your weekly and daily list instead of just saying work on project life or work on album. You'll be able to say print January's photos for Project Life, or work on the 4th section of this album by completing these 2 layouts. You can be more and more specific, which means you're more likely to actually follow through. And so we'll keep going through this a little bit, but this is the overall big picture perspective. And so step 1 here is that what component, what it is that you're working on. And I call this, mapping the boundaries of your scrapbooking universe. There's a photo here of my closet, and actually it's my previous house, of my albums. And so it's seeing what is this library that you're building. And I like to do this by asking some specific questions, kind of in an iterative fashion. So what have I done in the past year? What have I worked on? What have I not worked on? What do I want to do in the coming year? What can I do? What's actually realistic or possible for me? And then it's making that decision. What will I do? So you can see as you go around and around, you are able to determine what has worked well and take into account your new ideas and new inspirations, and then narrow that down into what you actually will do. And then the flip side of that conversation is also important. What have I not done over the past year? What do I not want to do going forward? What can't I do this year because it doesn't make sense or doesn't fit in my life or is no longer interesting to me? And therefore, what will I not do? Oftentimes, what you leave off your plate or put on the back burner is as much or more important than the things you do choose to do, because we can do anything we want. We just can't do it all at once. And so making these kind of big picture assessments of your hobby will help you deepen your satisfaction, will help you get more done, because it's all tied into what's really working for you. All right, so here's another way of looking at it. If you do different types of scrapbooking, like layouts, project life, mini albums, it could be photo books, it could be other types of creative activities like cards, or even other crafting hobbies, you probably can't do all of it, and you probably don't do all of it as well as other parts. And how you feel about those things may have changed from the year past. So you'll take a look at that roster of activities and figure out what's actually going to come through the bottom funnel and make your 2016 project list. All right. So step 2 here takes all of those ideas, kind of this grocery list of the types of scrapbooking that you want to do, and even to a little bit more detail, the types of projects that you want to start, such as particular albums, or you want to start using a certain type of approach, you want to try digital scrapbooking, you want to do more mini books because you haven't done any recently, or you want to dedicate more time to photo books because you think those will be easier, or you really just want to focus on layouts because that's what works for you. So when you have that kind of concept in mind, you can then go to the seasonal perspective. And so one of the reasons this interests me so much is because I'm actually starting a little bit of a study called Scrapbooking with the Seasons. And I did this beta survey. There was 124 respondents, and I'll blow this up for you. What I did is I asked, can you tell me about your enthusiasm for planning, organizing, and scrapbooking for every season of the year: winter, spring, summer, and fall? And you can see there was a very clear trend here that our enthusiasm is greatest in the winter and fall. It goes up a little bit for organizing in the spring, and in the summer, our enthusiasm and motivation for these things actually reaches a low point. So if you've ever encountered changes in how you feel about your hobby or your actual success with your hobby throughout the year, that's because of this graph here. It's totally natural to go through this cycle throughout the year, depending on what's going on in your life. Your graph, this is the average of 124 people. We're going to blow this up into a much larger survey next year. But what this graph looks like for your life actually may be different. Let's say you're a teacher and you're very busy throughout the school year. Your graph may actually be the opposite. And in the summer, your interest in all these things peaks because you have more free time. But stepping back here, when you understand what the seasonal ebb and flow looks like for you, you can better allocate projects to each season of the year. So say in the fall, your excitement for scrapbooking is the highest. That's when you should probably put more on your plate than, say, the summer, when your excitement is a little bit lower. You should really leverage that high enthusiasm and go easy on yourself during times when there's low enthusiasm. You shouldn't expect that your ability to achieve would be consistent throughout the year. And that's what then trickles down into this greater feeling of ease and satisfaction, because you're not feeling like you're beating your head against the wall and feeling guilty that you're not caught up, and just feeling crappy, if you will, that you're not having as much fun in scrapbooking as you should be for a hobby. All right. So when you embrace this seasonal perspective, here's what it does for you. You can find the intersection between what's really filling you up, what's interesting, exciting, what's really got you thinking about scrapbooking a lot, and what's actually practical and what fits your life right now. It's that sweet spot that will be unique to every season of the year for you, but it's that sweet spot that leads to productivity and greater fulfillment in this hobby. So I'm going to give you some examples here. These are from, I'm calling these my sticky note examples. These are from my own life. And so what I know for this season is that these things are not a current priority for me. That I don't need to finish Project Life for 2015 right now because I have other priorities. I can wait to start my husband's Before Your Story album. This is a kind of a life retrospective for him. And reorganizing my stamps is not a current priority. Yes, these are things that I still would like to achieve, but I have taken these off my priority list for this particular season because I know that I won't be able to keep up with it all. Instead, these are my priorities. I want to focus on my photo library to get it all kind of wrapped up before the new year. I want to really enjoy working on my December daily project and both the making memories and the keeping memories side of that. I want to finish 5 layouts, and I've already finished one of those, and I want to order 3 photo books, and I've already done that as well. I've actually even started on an additional photo book. So by narrowing down my landscape of scrapbooking to what is my priority for this season, I can focus more and leverage what's interesting me most. All right, going on to step 3 here. Before we do that, I want to just remind you that if you need to submit a question, and I love answering questions, please use the red Submit a Question button. That will pop open in a new window for you. We've got, let's see, 2 questions in so far, so I'm looking forward to answering those once we conclude the presentation. And I really do appreciate you being here with me today because I know it takes time out of your day to come to a training, and I hope to make this super valuable for you. Oops, I got a little scrolly happy here. All right, so step 3 is leveraging tools to execute your plan and stay on track. And if you've been around Simple Scrapper for a while, some of what we've covered already may be familiar to you already. But I think in this step 3, this will be a little bit of new material, and I hope will help you see how to take these conceptual ideas, these more abstract ideas and approaches to thinking about scrapbooking and how to actually turn those into items that you'll check off on your to-do list. All right, here. So what I'm trying to help you understand here is how you can take planning for your real life, which is probably how you're used to planning. You have your calendar, whether that's a monthly, a weekly, or a daily, or a combination of those, and it has events on it. It has reminders to return your library books. It has that doctor's appointment. It has a meeting that you need to have at the school. And how to actually fit your hobbies into that planning process that you already do in order to just keep up and being a functioning person in society. And it's what I think that when you do that, you're better able to not put yourself last and not put your hobby last. All too often I see that we reserve time and energy for scrapbooking at the end of the day, but in the end we have run out. And so when you're able to plan a little bit more effectively and intentionally about scrapbooking, it just all kind of fits together, and scrapbooking becomes something else that you get to do, just like going to the park with your child. So here's an example for me. This is my priority list for the week. It includes house cleaning, finishing the gift wrapping, printing my December daily photos from the past week, writing 3 blog posts to cover the next 3 weeks. I need to write some press releases, and this is actually a holdover from last week, And I only want to focus any kind of additional free time beyond scrapbooking on reading, because I'm doing some preparations here. It's part pleasure, part work, because I'm starting a Simple Scrapper book club in the new year. So that's a little teaser for you. And then today's list, those priorities trickle down to my today's list. I got groceries this morning. I am delivering this webinar now. After the webinar, I'm actually going to go vacuum the downstairs. I vacuumed the upstairs last week. That's how I do housework. It's a little bit at a time. I want to print photos for my December daily for the past week. I still need to finish a dance form in order to pay our costume deposit for my daughter's recital in the spring. And I'm really trying hard to disconnect by 10 p.m. I find that if I get off my phone and get off the computer a little bit earlier, I can wind down and try to actually be asleep by 11. So you can see here, this is how scrapbooking fits into my life. It's not that I'm, even as somebody in the industry, scrapbooking all day long. It's just one thing that's a part of my life, but it does make it on my list. So when you think about this cascade of the annual approach, of figuring out what it is that you do as a scrapbooker, and then you take this seasonal approach to figure out, all right, what's important right now, what's going to be on my plate, what's not, then you can actually narrow down to specific tasks for today, this week, or this month. And when you do that in a tool of your choice. And what I want to talk about here is that there is no right tool. It could be a notebook. I really love these Rhodia notebooks because they offer a dot grid, but it can be any notebook. It could be in a ring or disc bound traditional planner like a Filofax. It could be in a totally spiral bound planner like the simplified planner, the Get to Workbook. Or it could be in a moleskin journal or any kind of other bound book, and you could even do bullet journaling if that's your type of thing. And that's just on the paper side. On the digital side, you could use Evernote, which is great for right-brain creative thinkers who love to find relationships between things. You could use Asana, which is what I love, which is great for people who love lists and more of a hierarchical linear approach. You could use Trello, which is kind of a hybrid of the two, and it's a pretty simple project management tool that allows you to create these project cards with subtasks. Or you could use something like Wunderlist or any of the dozens of list management apps out there that allow you to create to-do lists, like Remember the Milk, Toodle-Do, Todoist. There's lots of them out there. And the point here is to pick a tool and use it regardless of what it is you like. Fundamentally, whether you're using paper or a digital tool, it's all about creating lists. Lists for a year, for a season, for a day, for a week, for a month, and lists that you can refer to contextually, such as stories I want to tell, projects I want to create, but it's all about lists. And here's kind of the parameters that I would give you when selecting your planning tool. It should be easy for you to update. It should be something that you'll actually carry with you. You should like the design of it, but design should not be the #1 factor. It should just be one part of what you consider when you select a planner. The spaces in the planner, whether we're talking about actual physical spaces on paper or digital or electronic boxes, they should fit your life and what you need out of a planner. And it should really be as simple as it needs to be, or the flip side, as complicated as it needs to be. Oftentimes, I see people using either a too simplistic approach, but more often they're using too complicated of an approach, and that's why it's not easy to maintain or it's too difficult to carry with you, because it's not as simple as it needs to be. It's all about creating the list that you'll refer to, that you can take action on, that actually move you forward. And there's one thing to remember here, is that even if you are more inclined towards the digital or the paper, you don't have to choose just one tool. It could be a combination of tools depending on what you need. and I'll share my own personal example. I use Asana primarily for work project management. So I work with a team here at Simple Scrapper, and we use Asana to manage our plans for this month and this year. But that's not what I use on a day-to-day basis to figure out what I need to do personally. For that, I use the Simple Scrapper Planner, which is a set of printable planning sheets, and I do that on paper. I love to do all of my day-to-day planning on paper because I have that tangible satisfaction of checking off each task. And that's also what allows me to integrate it with my life. So my calendar for the month includes webinars like this one, my Simple Scrapper chats. It includes meetings on the university campus. It includes my daughter's doctor's appointments. It's all integrated together in a paper calendar. And so just because, how do I say this? Just because you feel maybe more inclined to one or the other, or you feel like you should be choosing one or the other, you can combine tools to create the system that totally works for you. And that's really the beauty of having so many options in this day and age, is that you don't have to do, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can create the planning approach that works best for you. And so when you do this, you'll know exactly where to begin on your scrapbooking projects. You'll know what it is you need to do next and how long it'll take. You'll be able to reduce decision fatigue throughout your day. And this is where this conversation really gets more about planning for the rest of your life. So when you have good plans for your day and you know where to begin on whatever it is you're working on throughout the day, you'll have more energy left at the end of the day because you've made fewer decisions. When you know what it is you need to do, you do it, and it didn't require energy to decide what to do. And that means at the end of the day, you have more energy for scrapbooking or spending time with your family or doing whatever it is you need to do. All right. It will also help you also hold that space for me time. When you have scrapbooking on your calendar and planned out within the context of your life, you know when you're going to do it. And so it won't get pushed aside as much. It won't get dropped off the list because you ran out of time. When it's in your planner, it's held, and you can make better decisions about whether or not you actually then follow through with that time. It makes it easier to keep those promises to yourself. And then finally, you'll have a greater sense that you've spent your time well. And I'll know what it feels like to have your list crossed off. When you take this planning approach from that big picture annual perspective down to the daily, you'll feel like you're making progress, you're moving forward, you're seeing how that daily task fits into the bigger picture, and you're making progress in doing well with your hobby. And all of that just leads to greater life satisfaction. Nobody wants to feel like you're just spinning your wheels or wasting your time or wasting your money, especially in a hobby like scrapbooking, where we do invest so much of our personal selves and our resources into it. So if you'll oblige me for a minute here, I would like to tell you just a hair about the Simple Scrapper Planner and some of the other things we offer here, and then we'll get to the questions. If you're already familiar with this, please feel free to go ahead and take this opportunity to click the Submit a Question button to ask questions for me, and I can't wait to get to that in the second half of this presentation. So the Simple Scrapper Planner was designed for you. Unlike other planners that are really for the general population, it's designed for a scrapbooker to include the regular types of planning pages you'd expect, from daily to monthly to annual, and then planning pages that are specific to your hobby. In the photo here, there's one called Stories to Tell. I have 2 different versions of that page, and then we have dozens of other types of pages that have been customized specifically for scrapbookers and specifically for this planning approach that I've described, that will help you take these seasonal approaches to figuring it out, what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. It will help you not only capture ideas for your hobby as they come about, but then also translate those into real plans. And it's a completely flexible option because these are printable planning inserts, either for a clipboard or for your ring or disc-bound planner. And I have them in 5 different sizes for you. The planner is normally $24, or it is included with a membership at Simple Scrapper. Also included with the membership are these brand new series of refresh workshops. And this is an opportunity to reset your scrapbooking every season, to implement the concepts that I've shown here within a group setting and really get yourself re-energized and renewed and reinvigorated about your hobby every 3 months. This is a 7-day online experience, and it kind of combines the best of a workshop, a retreat, and a challenge series all in one package. It's live in that we're all working together, but it's self-paced, so you can check in at your leisure during the day and complete your homework assignments. And what this does is we're not just thinking about planning and talking about scrapbooking. We're also spending time organizing, getting your paper and digital supplies or your photos in order so that you can scrapbook. And then we're actually doing some fun projects together as well that will help you feel more connected to your hobby. And these workshops are going to be priced at $59 each, but they are also included with our membership program. So in the membership, we're having a sale right now just for December, and that would include the planner and any updates. I just actually sent out a brand new weekly variation for our members. If you're a member throughout 2016, you'll have 4 refresh workshops, 1 per season. You'll get our monthly magazine, Spark, which includes dozens and dozens of beautiful layouts from our creative team. And we've just redesigned the magazine for the new year, and I'm really excited about not only the exclusive content, but just the overall refreshed perspective on that. This past year, the magazine's been running 60 to 70 pages, and I think that will bump up to around 75 pages each month. So it's not something that's tiny. We have this huge resource library that has more than 200 sketches and layered templates, storytelling prompts, project ideas, additional types of planning pages, an entire course called Focus, which is on scrapbooking productivity. And this membership is our core offering, and it's normally $15 a month. But during December, I'm offering $36 for a 3-month subscription. This is a recurring payment, and it's only available this month. Once you lock into this $36 per season per quarter plan, you have that price forever, completely protected from any price increases or changes. That's your price, and you get to keep it. So I'm really excited to share that with you today. I will go to questions now. If you are interested in the membership, I would really love, oops, I lost my full screen here. Oh no, all right. I lost the presentation altogether. Good for you, Jennifer. All right. So this is the time at which we're going to go back to my face instead then. So there we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to enter in the URL into the chat box here, since I managed to get rid of everything else. All right, this is where you can go to learn more about what's included in membership and take advantage of that special offer. And it's simplescrapper.com/join. If you're not here, you can't see the chat box at the moment. Simplescrapper.com/join will take you directly to the page where you can learn more about membership. And I'm sorry for the abrupt ending to the presentation here. And I am really excited to spend some time with questions. We've got about 20 minutes left, and I hope you ask me lots of good ones. I will answer absolutely anything for you, whether it's about the things we offer here at Simple Scrapper or more big picture about planning, or any advice that you'd like me to give you on planning for your hobby or your entire life, because that's one of the things that I'm passionate about. All right, first question, is your Christmas tree up? Yes, it is. It is downstairs in our living room. We have a real tree. It is a tall and skinny tree this year. We decided we wanted one that would take up a little bit less room, so we picked one that's super tall. It almost hits the ceiling, but it's kind of skinny in that sense. And it's now being filled with presents that I've been wrapping furiously. So, all right, next question. Do the inserts in the Simple Scrapper Planner help you go through figuring out how to map your boundaries? So that kind of boundary mapping process, there's two different options for that. So the short answer is no, because we do that elsewhere. The quick way to do the boundary mapping process, if you've signed up from the homepage of Simple Scrapper to download our Focus Finder tool. Right now that comes with it's kind of I call it the Me Time toolkit that includes a weekend planner page, as well as the Focus Finder tool. That Focus Finder tool is the very quick and easy way to map your boundaries. And then during the refresh workshop, I have this particular set of exercises that I take people through called the Start Fresh exercises that allows you to do that. And the inserts in the Simple Scrapper Planner, I've got my planner here with me today. Here. Let me see what I can show you here. What kind of the big picture of what it lets you do, and this was for fall here, and I know you won't be able to see this very well, but it has these seasonal pages. This is the fall page, where it allows you to determine your priorities for the season, and then determine individual tasks for each of those kind of big picture projects. So let's say you have an album project as one priority, you can figure out which tasks are going to be done in each month to lead up to that. And that's just one of the types of pages. We've also got, this is what I call the victory log. It's an opportunity to write down all of your accomplishments, as well as to do a layout tally at the bottom. What I'm showing you is I've printed the 5.5 by 8.5 size version. Planning pages. I have a maintenance schedule in here that goes from daily, weekly, monthly, and annual. So these are the types of activities that it's kind of the admin tasks for your hobby, if you will. Certain types of, like, for example, backing up. If you don't do that automatically, you probably want to do that weekly. If you do certain things related to processing photos, maybe on a weekly or monthly schedule, you can put those on here. So it's not really the creative aspects, but all those little things that add up and really do take time, you can have a schedule for that. And one thing I will say is that if you go to simplescrapper.com/planner, you'll be able to see all the different types of planner pages, and including some examples. There's a project planning pages, which allow you to break down an entire project into kind of the big picture overview, the supplies you're going to use, and even itemize all the different steps of that project. Let's see here. And then, of course, there's also the regular types of planning pages, including we've got I'm just showing you an example here. This is a half of the vertical week on 2 pages. I like to use washi tape to divide that into sections. I'm not much of a creative planner, so as you've noticed, this presentation today wasn't about how to decorate your planner. It's about whether you like to decorate or not, what are the things that you should be writing down so that you can actually achieve some scrapbooking and not spend all your time planning. All right, let's go to the next question here. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of overview of what's in the planner. And to me, all of these pieces kind of work well together, and I've tried to give a combination of free tastes of what we do here at Simple Scrapper. You have the opportunity to join Refresh, any of the sessions a la carte, or in the membership, it's kind of more integrated and kind of an ongoing type of process where the members really love that they can rely on that. They don't have to worry about organizing or planning all the time. They know that every season we're going to come together. They'll be able to straighten out everything that's in their head and feel energized for another season of creativity. All right, next question here. How much time do you spend a week scrapbooking? So I would say that varies widely, very widely, down from Some weeks I would say I would spend no time. If it's a really busy week in the business and there's a lot of things that we're developing, my own personal scrapbooking would take a back burner because I do a lot of writing, a lot of the technical things behind the website, up to probably a full day. And I would say this for maybe 6 to 8 hours, depending on whether or not there's deadlines or if I'm really engaged in a project. On average, I would say I'm average, that I would spend an hour or two a week, usually in the evenings after my daughter's in bed, or maybe a little bit on the weekends to work on something. So I average probably a layout a week, maybe a few pockets here and there, a little bit time spent on my photos. To some, it's not surprising, and others it is, but as somebody who works in the industry, most of my time is actually not spent on the actual creativity and fun parts of scrapbooking. It's spent on a lot of logistics and admin. So do you schedule your scrapping time on a specific day or just goals for the week? I do some of both. I would kind of have an idea of what it is I'm working on, and if that can be discreetly added to a day, that on this day I'm going to do this thing and that day I'm going to do that thing, I will do that. I will also block off, like say I know that this evening is going to work out well for me. I'll block that time off and say this is dedicated to scrapbooking. So it just depends on the week and what feels right for me. So I definitely do some of both. I'm always thinking about what's my priority right now, what's my focus, what do I really want to achieve. Somebody just became a member. Thank you very much. Where do I go to obtain the planner and inserts? You can go to under resource library. Inside of the membership area, there's a whole page called planning pages, which has not only the 2016 planner and a how-to sheet for you, but it has all previous year's planners as well if you want to mix and match with some other pages. Let's see. Don't have any other questions here in the spreadsheet, but if you would like to submit a question, I am here with you for another 13 minutes, and I would love to answer your questions. Over in the chat room, Tanya mentions that my hair has gotten long. Yes, it has. If you've seen some of my older YouTube videos, I used to have actually really quite short hair, and I've been letting it grow. So we'll see how long I can handle that. This is actually the longest my hair has ever been in my entire life. It's never been this long before. So interesting experiment for me. All right. So let's see if there's any other questions. I do really want to thank you guys for being here today. I love doing these trainings. They're a little bit out of my comfort zone because I'm more of an introvert and I like to write a lot. But I like this opportunity to really spend time with you and try to connect with you a little bit more personally, and hopefully share some of my enthusiasm for this hobby and share some of my different approaches so that you can kind of, one of the things that I hear a lot from the members is that they hear me in their ear. Now, I don't mean that in a creepy way, but that I try to share guidance that can be used again and again that will frame how you approach scrapbooking in a little bit of a different way. That it's not about quantity when we're talking about productivity, but it's about actually making it happen. I did a survey recently of members asking about your biggest scrapbooking challenge, and the majority said finding the motivation to begin. So there's often a disconnect. We're feeling really internally excited about our hobby, but something's not translating to the real world. And so inside of the membership, we talk about all the different tools and techniques. For example, we love to use timers to just get started. That will help you get over that little hump of motivation and take that internal energy you have and translate that into real world productivity and actually getting something done. See over here, right there, there's a layout that I did the other night. I believe that the techniques and tools that we use led to that layout, that I was feeling kind of internally motivated. I was finding myself thinking about using certain products, and I'm like, well, why don't I just do it? And so I set my timer for 10 minutes, and once I touched the products, I was able to actually take action. But it requires that kind of tangible experience. And I would say even digital scrapbookers have the same one of getting started to kind of get the ball rolling down the hill for you. All right, we got a couple more questions here. Are you keeping up with your December daily? I am working on December daily. I would not say that I am keeping up very well in terms of the creative part of it. I'm really hoping that I'm going to have some time for that this weekend. I've got some time set aside on Saturday morning to work on it, kind of when everybody else is doing other things. And I have been keeping up really well with the photos, though, not only taking them, but offloading them onto my computer, editing them, and having them all ready to go. So my next step is actually to print some more photos and get those into my album. I look at December Daily not as a daily documentation project, but kind of a 25 stories of Christmas album. And I tend to work on it in 2 or 3 sessions, and that's worked really well for me over the years. Last question, when is the refresh session in January? We'll be having refresh during January, April, July, and October of next year. And the January session is January 12th through 18th. And during refresh, we'll have daily chats. These are kind of typewritten chats here like we have in here in the classroom. I'll be available for an hour every day. It'll be at different times of the day to accommodate different schedules and time zones. I think we're actually going to do a live stream kind of like this on Saturday as well, because I'm having a meetup with some of the local scrapbookers who are members. But really, other than those type of live activities, it's a kind of a self-paced thing that you can check in throughout the day when it's convenient for you and take action on your homework. And I also realize that some folks may have more time on the weekends than others, and so I try to take that into account when planning the activities. Nothing is too demanding, but these are kind of short and sweet and very powerful transformative exercises that will really help you feel ready, motivated, and energized for the new year. All right. Somebody says, if I buy the planner, do I get access to the pages for a certain length of time, or how does it work? You're sent a download link that will allow you to download. It's a zip file that includes a full package of more than 100 different planner pages and all the different sizes. And those are yours to keep forever. If you are also a member, you would get any additional updates that I have to the planner throughout the year. We'll be doing a mid-year release, which will probably have some design tweaks. I'm always improving and creating kind of alternate pages as well. So, but anything you purchased outright, it becomes yours. A couple questions here in the chat room. Will this class be available later? Yes. As soon as I'm done broadcasting here, it will be available on this page to replay. I'm also sending out a full replay link, which will be at a slightly different URL, but it's all on YouTube and recorded for you. Tanya asked, would you mind sharing themes from your 25 stories of Christmas? I really like that idea. So I look at it both in terms of stories related to the season and Christmas, and then stories of our life right now. So it's kind of a merging of those. One of the examples is I took a photo the other day of a bunch of ornaments at the tree, and I realized that there were ornaments from 5 different generations on the tree, and that lit me up with excitement that this tree is really a scrapbook in itself, and there's so many memories when you have ornaments that come from so many different generations. But then that will also be next to a story about how my husband's been out of town this week, and so my daughter and I have been doing fun mommy-daughter things. You know, I let her sleep in the bed with me, and we've gone out to dinner, and we've gone shopping together. I mean, she's only 4, so shopping is me shopping, but we've done some things together. So it's a combination of those things that reflect what our December is like right now, but that also go a little bit deeper for me, and that's how I kind of approach my scrapbooking. I use the stories of today to reflect on other memories of the past, or even dreams for the future. All right, do we have any other questions today? I've had some questions in the past about how the membership program works. When you become a member, you get access to this private members area, which has all of our content and resources. It's updated at least once a month, really more often than that. And then you also get invited to a private members only Facebook group. And that's really the heart of where things are happening for us, is that it's a place where you can turn to. You know, there's like-minded friends, scrapbookers, who are always willing to answer your questions, including me, to feel like you have a home on the web for your hobby. I know a lot of us don't necessarily have scrapbookers locally that we can spend time with, but this kind of gives you that warm and cozy place that you know you can turn to chit chat about life or to get advice on your projects. And then, of course, when you do take advantage of that $36 per quarter pricing, which was a savings of 20% off of the current membership price. That price will be locked in for the lifetime of your membership. It will renew every 3 months automatically, but of course, you can cancel anytime if it's not a good fit for you. All right. Well, if you don't have any more questions, I will. I don't want to take advantage of your time. I do appreciate the time you have spent with me today. I will send out a replay of this presentation if you want to watch it again or take notes. And I'm so thankful that you're part of the Simple Scrapper community, and I hope to see you more in the future, and especially in 2016. Thanks a lot.